So it's a rather glorious morning. Right, we're going to cross over to Brent and say, you can say good morning to him and he can do likewise. And we'll see you a little while, hopefully with some lions.
Good morning, welcome on a live game drive. I'm busy on Arathusa private game reserve. My name's Brent and I got Phil on camera with me this chilly morning. Thanks very much to Chris and B. Oh no, God thanks, sorry. But the guys who are on the Zoomies and people who've been watching the Juma cam who updated about that male lion who crossed around 2 o'clock this morning. I actually heard him calling at about 4 a.m. very close to our camp. So first thing this morning was out on those tracks, and unfortunately we followed them all the way across our southern boundary. So that's very unfortunate, but he was around, but he has now disappeared. So we've moved on to Arathusa, and I'm hoping to have a little leopard luck this morning. We haven't seen, well, I feel like I haven't seen leopard for a few days, so quite nice. I'm going to try to look for Shadow and Sindile. Hopefully they're around. Hopefully we find some fresh tracks. Other than that, if you are new, welcome. And to all our regulars, welcome as always. Lovely to have you on the back of my game drive vehicle. So we are on a live safari. You're seeing everything that I'm seeing at the exact same time. So that is absolutely incredible. We also are interactive, so you're able to ask us questions about what we see in the bush and what's around us. And you can do that by emailing us at questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Well, let's go see what we can find. The sun's just popped over the horizon and hopefully it warms up a little bit quickly. It's one of our touch rugby fields where we do a little bit of exercise. Also, it's the spot where we saw that serval a few weeks ago. There's quite a lot of tracks there. I'm just trying to see who's who and what's what. There's quite a lot of busy chatter on the Game Drive channel as all the Game Drives get mobile. So I'm just listening to it, trying to find out if anyone else has seen tracks or found any animals. And very important for us to have a good working relationship with the other guides in the area. We all work together to find animals. It's very much a team game, finding of animals. Dawn chorus of the birds hasn't quite kicked in yet. You just hear some arrow mark babblers starting. They're quite far from the road, so keep on moving on. morning, Lynn from Michigan. Welcome on this chilly sunrise safari, Lynn. Lovely to have you on the back of the vehicle. Lynn would like to know, would female lions from other prides kill cubs from another pride? Most definitely, Lynn, because if those cubs got to adulthood, they'd increase the size of the pride and put pressure on the neighboring prides if they happen to get big and start taking over territory from other prides. So lion prides, even though they might have the same dominant male, the females will actually fight amongst each other as well and will kill cubs from each other. Thanks very much for that, Lynn. Heading almost due east.
If I do leap suddenly, it's because a snake has come out and tried to bite me on the face, which I'm going to try and avoid studiously. Now, inside these termite mounds, this is the fungus-growing termite, a fascinating evolutionary sort of thing that's developed, and it's developed in a few places around the world, where the termites, which cannot digest cellulose, which is the stuff that this grass is made of, basically, they grow fungus, which basically digests it for them, and then they eat the fungus. There are no fungus gardens in this one because it's not an active mound, but if you look down in here, if you can get as tight in as possible, you can see how the structure of the mound is, and we very seldom get this opportunity. Normally, the burrows are sort of hidden, and this one's been excavated by an aardvark at some stage during its life. And you can see the tunnels that the termites have created. You can see the little chambers where they would have been growing fungus. What you can't see here, unfortunately, is the royal chamber, which would be a chamber about that size, just down below, probably about 30 centimeters under the surface of the ground, and that's where the queen, who's about 6 inches long, will sit with her sort of bulbous white abdomen, which produces 20,000 eggs every day. That's a lot of eggs. So you can imagine how many termites there must have been in this mound and how many there must be in some of the bigger mounds. There's one just down the road there, which we'll have a stop at just now. But I wanted to stop here because you can see right into it, and you can see the tunnels and the chambers and the little places where they would have had their fungus gardens. So this is the fungus-growing termite, Macrotermes natalensis, and a whole lot of other things, of course, will go down there to live, including the black mamba at times. So we'll try and avoid trying to see him. I'm quite terrified of black mambas. As should you be, I suppose. Right, we're going to go down a little bit down the road, just to update you on our lion tracks. We haven't managed to find any lion tracks. I'm going to plug myself back in so that Tara can speak to me, instruct me. I think I may have tied myself in a slight knot. Anyway, so it goes. We're going to carry on down the road here and see. I am hanging myself. There we go. All right, fear not. We're okay. On we go. So no lion tracks have come across. So I'm afraid I think the Nkuhuma Pride is either to the north or to the east of us, which is a sadness. I shall have a word with them next time I see them. And I'm trying to find an active mound for two reasons. One, because I have yet to eat a termite, and that is an importance, that one who lives in the bush eats a termite at least once. And the other reason, of course, is for the heat that comes out of them at this time of the morning, which is always quite fun on the hands when you've been driving. Now, my next port of call is going to be the Buffels Hook Dam, where a lot of you have named the hippo there Bob. Now, this is, apart from being a ridiculous name, is actually a bit of an acronym for the Bachelor of Buffels Hook. So we're going to go and have a look and see how he's doing. John in California, you ask an interesting question to which I'm going to hazard a guess. Is the size of a termite mound related to the size of the colony? And the answer, I believe, is yes. The larger the mound, possibly the larger the colony of termites. Remember, we're just going to stop here at these kudu, and then I'll carry on, John. John, say when. Try and get past the bush here so you can see them nice.
When? Oh.
Sorry. There goes the young male, young bull. John, and there's an impala to our right of him, but not nearly as nice as the kudu. John, so termites start off, remember these colonies start off as just 2 termites. A whole lot more in front of us. I'll just sneak forward. Nice. Just 2 termites, John, and then they mate, they start producing eggs, and eventually the female the queen will be laying 20,000 eggs a day, and the mound will just get larger and larger and larger. And then I think what happens, John, is that stop here and just go down here. John, what happens is that the termite mound may well become dormant, so the queen will die, and so the rest of the termite mound will become sort of inactive, and then it may well be recolonized later. So, while some of these termite... Oh, look at that beautiful kudu cow. While some of the termite mounds might become enormous with just one colony, others will get bigger through subsequent colonies that come and live in them. It's much easier to move into a huge mound like that if it's already built. You can hear some hyena calling way off to the north. Last calls in the morning. A winter dawn chorus starting around us. Waxbills calling, southern black tit at drongo, something called a three-banded, not a three-band plover, I'm talking nonsense, a brown-crowned chagra. They flap their wings and then make a lovely call. Just listen there. Sounded almost like a distress call from a buffalo. Way off to the north, unfortunately. That's what made the kudu react like they did. But they seem to have returned to their peaceful ways for now. So we're just going to sneak slowly down the road here towards Buffels Hook Waterhole. I have been tracing the fate of a lonely hippo bull with whom I feel some sense of solidarity. And so we're going to go and see how he's doing. We'll just slowly roll past these kudu. I've seen lots of kudu in the last few days. They're such elegant, marvelous animals to watch. Very nice. Right, so we'll just gently move on down the road here. Edward, a question of snakes. Thank you for that. You want to know if we get boomslang in the area. Boomslang, for those of you who don't know, is English name is a tree snake. Boom is the Afrikaans word for tree. So boom and slang is snake. Boomslang, tree snake. And it is the most venomous snake in all of South Africa. And yes, we do get them here, Edward, but they are not considered particularly dangerous because they're very shy and retiring. So I've actually seen somebody mistakenly identify one, catch it by its tail, thinking it was a non-venomous snake called a spotted bush snake, and all the boomslang did was try and get away. They've also got fangs at the back of the mouth, which means for them to bite you, they've really got to take hold and have a really hard bite. So really not a danger. And then a question from John Boy, nice question. Do we have any gaboon vipers here? John Boy, we do not have any gaboon vipers here. The closest thing we have here is the puff adder, quite a close relative. Looks fairly similar, but does have slightly shorter fangs. I'd be a lot more nervous of a puff adder than I was of a boomslang. But just remember that I very seldom like to use the term dangerous to describe any animal, including even a black mamba. Some animals are potentially dangerous when they become threatened, and the same applies to snakes. So for a puff adder, for example, which is a sort of fat and slow snake it's very fast to bite, but as long as you don't threaten it, they always warn you. They don't bite us because they see us as prey, so it's a huge waste for them to expend their venom, which is expensive for them to make. And the only reason they'll bite us is if we don't heed warning signals. So a puff adder is called a puff adder because it goes psh if you nearly stand on it. And I've nearly stood on 3 or 4 of them in my time, and every time they've warned me, I've moved away, and there's been absolutely no problem. So more people die of lightning strikes in Africa than they do of snake bites, so it gives you an idea of how dangerous snakes really are. They really are nothing to worry about. And it's so often a question people ask about living in the bush, or when they come out to the bush. Well, can we walk? Is it not dangerous because of the snakes? No. You've got far more chance of stepping in a hole by mistake and twisting your ankle than you do of ever being bitten by a snake. That said, I must just tell you a short story about something called a night adder, which is similar to a puff adder. And the first time I saw a night adder, I didn't actually see it, I heard it first, and I'd never heard them before. And I was just about to stand on it. It was in the twilight, and so I was walking through the bush like this, and I was a bit late getting back to camp, so I was walking quite fast. And I'd never heard the snake before. And as I was about to put my right foot down, I heard this whoosh, this hissing sound. And my body knew what it was. I immediately froze. Nobody had ever taught me what it was. I'd never seen one before, but there was something in my evolutionary past that I understood entirely what it was and what the danger was. So we've evolved to pick these things up. Now Now I can see hippo tracks on the road here, which means old Bob was probably out grazing last night. So, can you get those tracks in front of there? Is that...
Which ones?
That on the left? That's it, the hippo tracks. Okay, so there are some hippo tracks. I'll just have a quick... We're just going to have a quick look at them, and then you're going to go across to Brent, who's actually looking at the actual animal. So, will you just direct me if I'm not in screen?
Mm-hmm.
You on this one?
The next one?
Next one?
One more.
Yeah?
Yep, that's good.
Okay. So here's the hippo track. You won't see it particularly clearly from there, but it's got 4 toes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a back pad that looks like that. So, quite a big foot. Certainly bigger than my wee hand. And as we look at this hippo track, we're going to head towards Biffle's Hook Dam, and you're going to go across to Brent, who's actually looking at some hippos, which is slightly more entertaining than my hand on the road. See you just now.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, we've made our way towards Arathusa Dam, and we are spending some time with some hippopotamus, and you can see they all look quite chilly after their nightly excursions, and I'm going to be looking forward to that sun warming up and heading out onto that island for a bit of basking. So, really nice to be here with these hippopotamus. They look warmer than we feel, I'm sure. The water temperature is probably a bit warmer than the outside temperature at the moment. But if we have a look, some of them have got quite an extensive layer of vegetation on top of them, especially if we have a look at those ones to the right there. It almost looks like the hippo's wearing a beanie, even though I think that's far more accidental than on purpose. To a little bit to the left, please, Phil. There we go. It's got a scarf on. You know, give us a chortle. Well, this is a nice family group, which differs from that lonesome Biffle's Hook hippo. If he had to try come into the water here, he would definitely be pushed out by the dominant male, who would be scared of him, making some maneuvers on his females. And I believe James has just been showing you some hippo tracks. So, really interesting that we can go from the hippo tracks to the hippo. And you can see little pied wagtails have landed on the hippo's back, using a nice safe point. Up, and off he goes. To the next hippo. And see, they're not very energetic at the moment. They've probably spent the whole night out foraging, especially as it gets drier and drier. They'll have to move bigger and bigger distances between decent food and their watery home. Probably this sunrise safari. Lulu says she's heard that the largest amount of human deaths in Africa are caused by hippo attacks. Well, Lulu, from a mammal species, that is true. Hippos, out of all the mammals, kill more people than any other mammal species, and the reason for this is mainly because the rural communities that live around and are completely tied to the water. And a lot of them, the fishing communities, will have nets and traps, and they move around on these very small wooden kayaks or canoes called makoros, and they are quite flimsy and very easily tipped over. And in those situations, the communities come into contact with hippos on a very, very common scale, and slightly less than that. If a hippo feels threatened and you get between them and the water, them trying to run back to the water, they'll obviously try and move any threat that's between them and the water. But most of the hippos that kill people will be killing subsistence fishermen that are putting nets out. And there's quite a bit of conflict between people and hippos in rural parts of Africa, because obviously a hippo being big will walk through a net and damage a net, and that quite often affects that fisherman's sort of livelihood and his food to how he can feed his family. So there is quite a bit of human and hippo conflict in rural parts of Africa around the big rivers like the Zambezi, the Kafue, the Okavango, the Rufiji, the Ruvumu, and other lakes and smaller rivers in Africa that have a lot of hippos and have a lot of people living around them. Well, I think we're going to leave these hippos to bask a little bit longer as the maintenance at the lodge starts. So while the guests are out on drive, all the terrible things, they want the guests to have the best experience possible. So all the maintenance and drilling and hammering and all that type of stuff happens during the drives, so as the guests can have the most serene and peaceful experience while they're in the lodge. So before that maintenance becomes too loud, we're going to move on and go help Cedric follow up on some lion tracks that were in the northern section of this drainage line that flows into the dam. So, we have a question from Penny Pine. Welcome, Penny, on this very chilly at the moment sunrise safari. Nice to have you on the back of the vehicle, Penny. Penny would like to know, how fast can a hippo run, and could a hippo outrun me? Penny, I consider myself quite quick, and a hippo would leave me in the dust, probably lap me and overtake me on the 100-meter sprint. To give you an idea, a hippo can run about just over 40 kilometers an hour, which is about the same speed as Usain Bolt, except a hippo can keep it going for quite a lot longer. So even though they look like they're big and fat and ungainly, they are incredibly quick when they're out of the water. So they can definitely outrun me. So I'm just looking very carefully to see if these lion tracks pop out here. So also going this slowly, we can listen a little bit more carefully to see if those lions are spotted by an impala or a kudu and might start barking or snorting to give away their presence. So guys, I just need to listen to the game drive for a second. So while we try find out where these lions are, we're going to cross across to Commander Bond, see what he's been up to, and we'll be back with you a little later in the show.
Is that all right? Hello everybody, welcome back to Wendy. Not Wendy, we're on Jigger today. We've come to see Bob. There he is. the Bachelor of Buffels Hook. Those were his tracks on the road I showed you just now. He still remains alone in the world. He is not even accompanied today by his friends, the buffalo, that often are here with him. So he might just be a sort of chap who likes to be a loner. He might just like the quiet and peace of this area. And I must say, without any noise here, I'm just going to be quiet for about 10 seconds. It's just a tremendously peaceful place to be. We've got a couple of francolins calling, a grey lory or grey go-away bird calling. Ooh, and there's a huge stuff going on there. I don't know if you can hear that. It sounds like some zebra. Now, there's some real action going on just to the north of us there. I'm going to move quite quickly. It sounds to me like something is being attacked just north of this waterhole. So we're going to go with great speed. Hold on. Don't spill your coffee. If it happens to be nighttime where you are, don't spill your brandy. Sounds to me like a zebra, but might not be. This is exactly around where that pride of lions was yesterday. If you lose picture, it'll come back just now. Always important to stop and listen. I keep forgetting that sometimes. So it was just off to the left of where we're driving now that I heard the bushes going. I'm not sure if you heard them from your side. But we're going to stop just up here and have a listen. Hoping against hope that noise wasn't north of the boundary. Just about here. So we're going to stop here and have a listen. So I'm not sure if you heard what I was listening to or what I heard. It sounded like animals charging through the bush, possibly buffalo, zebra-sized, and then I heard what sounded like a zebra alarm calling. There's no sound now. What we're going to do is drive a little bit forward, and we're going to go onto the northern boundary and just check if there aren't any tracks there. This is right about where the Nkuhuma Pride was last night. I wonder if they haven't sort of tried to chase something. Sometimes. See anything here? No tracks on the road for now. just go down into this dip and then move on to the northern boundary. I suppose the one positive of that is old Bob was left to his solitary considerations of life. Hello, Carol. While we drive along here and see if we can't pick up what was making that noise, you want to know if hippos sleep during the day and if they sleep lying down. They do sleep during the day, but they sleep in the water. They will lie down. Sometimes on a cool morning they'll come out and lie on the ground on the shore, but during the day they will often sleep in the water. And that obviously holds most of their mass. They'll be standing on the ground wherever they are. So, yeah, I suppose you could say they are sleeping, standing up, but I mean, pretty much hanging in the water. Most frustrating. Jeffrey in Austin, Texas, you've asked me something I don't really know. I'm just going to stop here and we're going to have another listen. You want to know what kind of parasites might affect a hippo in the water. Hippo are affected by ticks, certainly, but not so much in the water. And within the water, I'm afraid I actually couldn't tell you. So if any of you geniuses out there want to send through an answer to that question, that'd be great. You gave some incredible information on birds the other day, yesterday. And so if you've got any information on parasites in the water for hippo, that would be great. Just going to stop here and have a little bit more of a listen. There are no tracks, unfortunately. And all I can hear now are a couple of long-billed crombecs. Whatever was being attacked has either succumbed and shaken off this mortal coil, or it is no longer being attacked. But there are definitely no lion tracks on the road. Or any sounds of alarm. It's a grey go-away bird you can hear in the background. So I think we're going to pack this in a little bit and just carry on a little bit further down the road, and then we're going to head further towards the south of the reserve and see what we can see there. With the reserve this size, once you've covered the boundaries and it seems that it's and you don't see any lion tracks coming in or out, because of the size of lion prides, territories, you can be pretty sure there aren't any unless they've kind of jumped over the road, which is not impossible. So we'll probably go and try and pick up on some other tracks. We haven't covered the whole boundary yet. Right, off we go.
Confirm you also following up around Safari Dunga North. I've been trying to get a hold of you guys, but the comms haven't seemed to be working very well. A copy of the last calls I had were actually in the drainage, and now I've got Tuamnisi on the southern side of the drainage, where there's that access off Safari North, I think, towards Eli Alley that goes into the drainage. And they are looking a bit nervous, but no ngala yet. Try to get a bit close to those hyenas, see what's happening. So I had there's lion tracks up and down and all over the place, going in all directions. So I'm quite sure they're around here. It is a very thick block, so we can't move too quickly through here. So we're just trying to listen. Mnis mfo. Mnis. Mbil. Angazi mfo. Mnis bitskitish. So some of the guys from the lodge are walking on those lion tracks trying to find them, which is what we were doing till we spotted the hyenas. So we're all very confident the lions are in this block somewhere. And I think the hyenas think so as well. You can see that not moving around a lot, and they're listening very carefully. Whereas we can only track by seeing tracks, they can track with their noses. Now it did look like there was a male lion track in this area as well. So that's maybe why they're hanging back a little bit. When I spotted them, I was sort of hoping to hear that cacophony of maniacal giggles and growls of lions and hyenas fighting, but no such luck yet. Definitely something happening in this area. Now it's time to put all the puzzle pieces together and try to figure out what it is. And the slightest noise of an animal might be able to fill in one of those gaps. But at the moment, I think we're just going to sit with this hyena and listen for a little bit longer. So if we look, the hyenas, just in their general ways, lifting the nose and where they're listening, it seems to definitely be around here. So I'm just trying to see if I can smell sort of that fresh stomach content, or if I can hear even just the slightest sort of growl or whatnot. Maybe they might have killed something small and it's all finished, but you might hear that sort of oof when a lion sort of lies down heavily, just off. So listening for all those type of things. Other. And there we go. If you look, it's a bit further away. If you come out to the left slightly and go straight through there, center of shot right now. In that gap, you can see there's a second hyena lying. Now a little bit to the top left. There we go. Just to the right of those little orange, those little orange combretum branches that are in out of focus and shot there. You can see the hyena lying behind. And it's amazing how sometimes we're between a really small area of roads and there's tracks everywhere. And there's 3 of us in this area trying to find out what's happening here, and the lions are definitely one-upping us at the moment. Going on, and to hear what's around and keep checking. The possibility they're hanging off like this at the moment is they probably know exactly where the lions are, but there's a male lion there and they don't want to tangle with a male lion, so they might just be waiting to finish off the bones that the lions couldn't crunch. But generally, the social structure of hyenas is an amazing thing and quite complex compared to most other predators. And it's the world's, all Africa, as far as I know, only truly matriarchal society, where the females are sometimes 20 to 30 kilograms bigger and heavier than the males. They have a very high level of testosterone. They have a pseudo-testes and a pseudo-pedis, which is an enlarged clitoris. And it is used very, very actively during social displays when different clan members meet. Sorry, I just thought I heard something there for a second. So did hyena. Nope. And it's sort of the sisterhood, the hyenas, their social structure, and also, unlike some of the other social carnivores, like lions in particular, hyenas will only nurse their own offspring. They will not nurse other clan members' offspring, and there's a very, very set social hierarchy and complicated greetings and displays and scent marking that go along with hyena. So he's listening to impala that I can also hear rutting in the distance, or she. So very difficult to sex them. Ngala audio. Sorry guys. I've got lions roaring, so is the hyena. Stood up, but the lions are roaring due east of us. And you just heard everyone who's been sitting here quietly listening. I just heard about 3 different vehicles start up, and all of us are now going to try and get into that area where that lion is. So hold on, I'm just going to try and get out of the block here to the closest road. So just bear with me for a minute or two. So it looks like she's looking for the rest of her pride. Well done, guys. So she's looking for the rest of the pride at the moment. So that's why the tracks have been so confusing this morning, and they've been going up and down in different directions. So hopefully someone calls back and answers her now. So if any of you are new or just logged in, I'm not sure which pride this is, but we're with the single lioness who's trying to find the rest of her pride. And this is live. We're watching this live. So we're not going to start the vehicle while that roaring's going on. A bit better than my impersonations. Okay, we're just gonna have to watch this one here, Phil. You got it, Phil? You can just see her up ahead. She's busy heading east. Just from where we are, I think it might be one of the Styx Pride members, but obviously we haven't had a really good look yet. I'm just gonna... So she's jogging. She might have heard in the call now. Wow. So I'm just going to try to get us into a position now. I've just had a brief view under. I don't think she's lactating, but Gilly would also like to know, would this be a very different call if it was for cubs? Gilly, most definitely a very different call for cubs. She wouldn't want to advertise loudly like that because of hyenas and maybe possibly other lions in the area. So her call then would be, for cubs, would be quite soft. It'd be something like this. Oh, oh, oh. And that's a little contact call. I don't want to do it any louder while she's close in case she gets confused with me and comes to visit. But that would be more of a contact call when animals are much closer. Hi, John Boy. John Boy says he thinks this is probably sticks. John Boy, I tend to agree with you. We're on Arethusa, and the nkuhumas don't come this side too often. No, she's still calling again, and she's not going in a set direction. She's changing direction constantly. She's going east, she's going south, she's going north. Okay, let's try catch up with her again. I'm not sure whether this is the same sticks that it hangs around with the female that's got the cubs at the moment. There are quite a few sticks individuals, and they have been split up into groups of 2 and 3 quite often in the last while. So now she's changed her direction again, straight back into the bush. See if I can find a gap. So she's smelling around, trying to smell, and she's obviously, I'm going to keep quiet now. Well, Sherry, lions obviously are very used to us in this area, and we spend a lot of time with them. I don't think by any means we are disturbing her. I do have some very bad news though. She has now crossed our boundary on Arethusa. I can just see her through there is a possibility she might head back towards us. I didn't realize how close we were to the boundary because we're in the bush. But she is moving east. I'm going to try to go back. It's very difficult to see her. We might get a better view a little bit further back. From the others, there she is. She's actually moving away, back towards us now. Slowly, just moving opposite us. Okay, I'm just going to keep an eye on her. She's stopped at the moment. She's just in the thickets. Let's see if she calls again. Hi, Computer Eyes. Chatter on Ustream. Computer Eyes would like to know, she looks very vulnerable when she's by herself like this, vulnerable to attack by hyenas. Is this true? It is to a degree, but the hyenas would probably ignore her unless she had some food for them. So if she was on a kill, it would probably be thus. By herself like this, she'd probably get away from them without too much difficulty. So we're just going to spend another minute or two here. I can just make out her outline, but it's very, very difficult. You just see the occasional sort of tail flick or ear movement through the bush. I can't even make out her body, just through there. I'm going to listen for a few seconds, see if she calls again or maybe possibly heads back towards us. Okay, she might cross directly north through this corner of this property that we are unable to traverse on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross back around to the Djuma boundary. We're very close to the sort of corner between Djuma and Arathusa, and she seems to be heading north, so she might pop out on Gowrie Main. So I'm going to head that way, and in the meantime, we're going to cross to James and see what he's been up to. I think he's also been hearing some lions, so it could be quite interesting to get an update from James about what's been happening in the northern part of the reserve. So we'll see you a little bit later. Hopefully we can find this lady again.
Welcome back to Jigga, everyone. We're just sitting here quietly sunning ourselves like some squirrels and some mongoose, listening to two male lions that were calling just to the south of us, unfortunately, again, off the reserve. And from what it sounds like to me, the lioness that you were watching with Brent seems to be heading towards where those lions are calling. Now, we've been sat here for about 5 minutes, hoping they'll call again. They really are not too far from here. We're at the Twin Dams waterhole. It's just off to our north. We're not going to go up there just yet because there are some guests having their morning coffee there, and they don't wish to be filmed having their morning meal, I think. None of us are at our best in the morning. So we're just going to sit here for possibly another minute or two and just see if they don't call again. I said earlier that the prides often are quite relieved when the males are not around, and that's because the males steal all the food, but they do add a certain amount of protection. But the only time I've actually seen prides hide from males who dominate their areas, mainly because the females are not in estrus. So the only time that the pride will actively seek out the males is probably if they're looking for protection. So if there are other males around, they feel more secure with the dominant males, and also if they are in estrus. So if the lionesses are in estrus, they'll seek out the males. But otherwise, they can spend extended periods away from each other. Unusual that the males should be calling at this time of the day. Starting to warm up, so I suspect that what we were hearing were the sort of last calls, and there may be some sort of territorial dispute going on here that they're calling during the day. I have heard males calling in the middle of the day, hot summer's day before, but that's only when there's a real territorial dispute going on. There is one calling. Miles away. Not the same ones we were hearing just now. I don't think the microphone will pick that up. All right, we're going to do a small loop around, head back towards Twin Dams area, and just see if we can't find something, maybe a couple of interesting birds there. And then I'm going to head back towards the sort of eastern sector and try and pick up on some leopard tracks. Given that I think the lions are probably off the reserve at the moment. Right, here we go. Those bush babies that we were watching yesterday do like to eat because it's very rich in nutrients, and we're in the absence of insects, which would be their normal food in the summertime. They like to eat the gum of the trees. So I'm just going to see if I can find some gum. If I can't, I'm going to taste the inner bark and see what that tastes like. Hopefully not damage myself in the process. Right, we have a little bit of gum here. Utterly tasteless. It's a bit like my cooking. So that's not the gum so much as this. And this is the vascular tissue, or the cambium layer, xylem and phloem, that take the water from the roots to the leaves and the carbohydrates from the leaves down to the roots. And that tastes a bit better. That's what elephants like to eat. An elephant did this to the tree. But that head, you can see the color on this bark. And the color on the bark is from tannin, and tannin is used for tanning leather, giving it its color. And it also dries the mouth out somewhat. So it's the same stuff that you'll get in in red wine, and especially in badly matured red wine. But there is a taste of nutrients about it, and I've done this before with a knobthorn tree, which is the same genus as this. This is an Acacia exuvialis. That one's Acacia nigrescens. But the gum I have failed to find. I think the gum will probably taste fairly similar. Yes, not delicious. Probably more delicious things out here, but we'll keep looking for those. Right, on we press. Yeah, Bulleray, thank you for your amusing little anecdote. No, I'm not going to do what you have feared that I might. Everybody, a few days ago we saw Tingana licking buffalo dung. And it would seem that this is a practice that, it's the first time I've seen it. I have read about it before, but it's a practice that leopards will engage in if they're not feeling very well. Apparently if they're lacking sort of digestive bacteria, they'll do that. Budere is worried that I might do the same. No, I will not lick buffalo dung. Well, not unless there's some enormous incentive to do so. It's warming up very nicely now. And we're going to follow the We're going to go across to Brent while we try and find tracks of this leopard. He's back on the hunt for the lions, and with any luck, you and he will find them by the time you see me again. So you just...
Welcome back. Unfortunately, that lioness obviously continued further south rather than coming north and bumping up into us again. But it was really interesting to see that behavior, what happens when a pride becomes disjointed. And nice to see that those hyenas definitely knew something was up in the area. And just by sitting with them and listening for a little bit, we were able to hear that lion roaring and get there as soon as possible. So short but sweet. We've also just checked the hyena den. Fortunately, nothing active there at the moment. So we're going to continue meandering around to an area that hasn't been checked this morning. Maybe we might find some more tracks. For those of you who might be new or logged in late, welcome. I'm Brent. I've got Phil on camera with me today. And we're going to go try see if we can find some tracks and whatever other animals might be out there this wonderful morning. It's warmed up a little bit, so I'm much happier. Gloves are gone. Might not quite ready to start peeling off the layers just yet, but I think quite shortly. So let's go see what else we can find. Constantly on the listen for potential danger. So there's two sort of youngsters there, and then there's a nice big bull hiding in the bush at the back. Very aware of everything around them, Kudu. Their eyesight is very good, but so is their hearing and smell, because they quite often are in thicker areas than a lot of the other antelope species. They have to have very good hearing and rely on their hearing quite heavily. You can hear that wonderful piping call of a grey hornbill flying over. So he seems to have heard something. I've seen what it is. There's another female, another two at least that I can see, about to come into the road in front of us. So they're going to be crossing the road shortly, out in the open. There we go. And there's a second one just behind her, about to come out into the open on the road. Might get it. Where's she stopped moving now? But nice to spend some time with these beautiful antelope. There we go. Here comes the second female. you can see they're moving out of the high ground on the crests, where they probably would have spent the night, where it's a bit warmer, and moving down towards the bottom of the valleys now to feed, now that it's warmer. So in the cold winter nights we get here, well, cold for us, not so much for you, if you're from the northern climes, a lot of your animal species will move up onto the crests. Oh, the male's starting to move now, during the night, because warm air rises, so it's slightly warmer for them up there. And then as it warms up, they'll move down to sort of the drainage lines and water holes, where it's slightly less chilly while they're there.